Thank you, my Lords. I'm grateful to the Minister for the Noble Lord, the Minister, for his explanation of these regulations and their effect in revoking retained EU state aid rules so that they're not part of the domestic law for part of the United Kingdom. But nothing in these regulations, of course, affects the continued application of EU state aid provisions as provided for in the Northern Ireland Protocol, Article 10 and Annex 5, after the 31st of December 2020. And the Minister, when he was introducing the regulations, somewhat skirted over that issue. These are very significant and far-reaching implications for businesses in Northern Ireland and for consumers in Northern Ireland. And I know time was short, but it was very much an afterthought. Yet it will have very significant effects on business in Northern Ireland. Great Britain will have its own domestic subsidy control regime following WTO rules and other international commitments agreed under free trade agreements, and it would be very good to have some idea of what the Great Britain regime is going to be. We really do need to see the detail in Northern Ireland. Some flexibilities have been promised, given that we are going to have this hybrid situation in the United Kingdom. So I'd be very grateful if the Minister could indicate when we're going to see the Great Britain rules for subsidy control regime. And I would also ask the Minister in his reply if he could spell out which areas will be covered in Northern Ireland by the EU state aid regime. He mentioned goods and electricity. Services, as I understand it, will not be covered. But that then can lead to a problem in terms of which businesses will be subject to which regime in Northern Ireland. We know manufacturing today, a lot of the value is in services. So businesses in Northern Ireland need to know whether they're under the EU regime, the Great Britain regime, or what. That needs to be clarified as a matter of urgency. We are almost 4 weeks away from these matters having to be settled, and it's important that these matters are settled and clarified very, very quickly. In the command paper in May 2020, the Government set out that the state aid provisions in the Northern Ireland Protocol would apply only narrowly. And I'd be grateful again if the Minister could reaffirm that and answer the questions that I've raised. Now, the UKIM has been mentioned, the United Kingdom Internal Market Bill has been mentioned. The Minister and Noble Lords will know the concern in Northern Ireland that we will have rules being applied under the protocol, not least in this area, over which there will be no democratic oversight or input for anyone from Northern Ireland. Stormont, the devolved government, executive, the Assembly will have no say in those rules. Neither will Westminster. So there's a massive democratic deficit. That is really not acceptable. And yet it is something that has been imposed upon Northern Ireland. We had a democratic consent statutory instrument discussed yesterday in Grand Committee, and we were told, well, in 4 years' time, the Northern Ireland Assembly will be able to vote in the matter. The Northern Ireland Assembly and the people of Northern Ireland would like a vote now. I think it's entirely democratic and reasonable to expect such a thing. And in closing, my noble lords, I wonder, could the Minister outline how Her Majesty's Government will ensure that Northern Ireland companies will not be placed at a competitive disadvantage compared to their counterparts in the rest of the United Kingdom? If Northern Ireland companies are following EU state aid rules and their counterparts in the rest of the United Kingdom are following a different subsidy regime, that has the potential to cause problems for Northern Ireland companies. Will he ensure that Northern Ireland businesses can have access to the United Kingdom schemes as well, or at least that compensation will be offered in some shape or form to make up for this competitive disadvantage, if there is any? So I think it's important, my Lords, just to have it on the record that whilst these are technical regulations, they seem to be sort of putting in place the state aid rules that will apply after Brexit for the whole of the United Kingdom. In fact, they're only applying it to part of the United Kingdom. and that for Northern Ireland these regulations do have very, very serious implications indeed. And they are something that I think needs to be highlighted and addressed.